Welcome to Retrospective Rants, with me, Joey Huff, as your host. Why no opening sketch? Because life is a comedy sketch. And because I've decided to get on the old bandwagon, the adaptation bandwagon. The blinders have been peeled from my eyes, and I understand that the Greek legends of old must be cleansed and remade for the ever-glorious and ever-infallible modern audience. Now behold, as I summarize to you, Joseph Huff's Iliad. First topic is format. Movies are the way of the past, but not everyone is strong enough to watch thousands of short-form clips in a single sitting. If you ever meet such an individual, be sure to pity them. Thus, my epic will be told in 9 25-minute episodes. Why not 45 minutes or an hour? That's a good question. First episode. Instead of Helen starting out as the most beautiful woman in the world, she's going to be a total girl failure, and she hates her responsibilities as Princess of Sparta and is so done with her family, because they just can't shut up about how her sister, Penelope, scored a hot boyfriend named Odysseus. All Helen wants is to build a laser cannon, just like her pen pal Archimedes. But no one takes her seriously, because she only wears pajama robes, her hair is all messy, there's always grease and food on her clothes, and sometimes she forgets to shower. It's just too much effort for her. But she's still the eldest princess of Sparta, and she must marry a prince. On her 18th birthday, all the heroes and kings of Greece come to Sparta to woo the girl failure. Not because they like her, but because most of them want a shot at Leonidas. And when they discover that Leonidas won't be born for another few centuries, a riot breaks out. But Odysseus comes up with a plan. He gives Helen a total makeover, and she looks so hot that she turns all the Greek kings bisexual. But now, all of them want Helen. So, to prevent another riot, Odysseus makes them all promise to share Helen on different days of the month. And if anyone tries to get with her on an unassigned day, the other heroes will kill him. The proposal is accepted, and among all the heroes present, Menelaus is chosen as the husband. Why? Because Menelaus is also a big nerd, and he wants to build a laser cannon too. So, Helen and Menelaus marry, and she decides to only wear her total makeover for him, thus disgusting all the other suitors and convincing them to leave the new couple alone. Yay! Second episode. The gods are having a big party. But nobody invited Eris, goddess of chaos. In retaliation, she crashes the party and serves all the women pumpkin spice lattes until there's only one left. But the bottle and straw are cursed, so that only the most beautiful goddess can drink from it. Artemis, Hestia, Demeter, and Persephone are pretty sure they could just gather a bunch of ingredients and make enough pumpkin spice for everyone. But their mixing skills just aren't up to snuff. So the snobbier goddesses, Aphrodite, Athena, and Hera, continue to fight over the last latte. None of the gods want to get involved, but Zeus is tired of hearing about pumpkin spice, so he points at a random mortal, Paris of Troy, who's stalking sheep for reasons best left unsaid, and says to the goddesses, "Ask that idiot to choose the hottest goddess." The three basic goddesses ambush Paris before he can do something horrific, and offer him gifts if only they'll choose them as the most beautiful and deserving of the pumpkin spice. Hera offers him all of Asia. Athena promises to teach him how to work Excel. But Aphrodite knows that Paris is a freaky-deaky boy, and promises to teach him dancing moves so stylish and sexy that no woman or sheep will resist him. Paris agrees to that last one, and Aphrodite claims the final pumpkin spice. But it's been in that cup for weeks at this point, so it's nasty. Armed with his new dance moves, Paris solves the Trojan population crisis, and his father, King Priam, reluctantly acknowledges him as a true prince. Hector, the eldest prince, thinks his brother needs to do some actual work, so he sends him on a diplomatic mission to Sparta. After all, Helen, queen of Sparta, is so mid that Paris wouldn't even think of seducing her. Right? Third episode. Unfortunately, Paris arrived on the Spartan monarch's date night, and he sees Helen all dressed up and sexy. Paris starts dancing, and Helen is powerless against the sheer riz before her. The new couple flees Sparta, leaving Menelaus with the check. Menelaus invokes the agreement that all the Greeks signed, reminding them that if he has no wife, Leonidas will never be born. All the Greek kings rush to his aid, and Athena and Hera promise all manner of blessings and boons on the condition that Troy burns. But the boats can't sail to Troy, because the wind is still. You see, Aphrodite told Artemis that she actually loved her homemade pumpkin spice, and it was only Athena and Hera who hated it. So Artemis is keeping the wind out of the Greek sails as payback. Agamemnon, older brother of Menelaus and most senior king among the Greeks, decides that the only way to save a girl failure is to sacrifice another girl failure. He decides that the best candidate would be Iphigenia, his own daughter. The other Greeks don't think he has the balls to do it, though, so they're all like, "Go ahead, we dare you." But he calls their bluff and tries to burn his daughter. Athena is so horrified by this act that she kills Agamemnon and makes his daughter the new leader of the Greeks. The Greek heroes think Iphigenia is a really silly name, though, so they just call her Agamemnon too and sail off to Troy. Episode 4. Some charlatans will try and convince you that Homer's decision to set the Iliad in the final year of a 10-year war had some point to it. Something about the cost of war, or longing for home, or whatever. Those people are liars. Obviously, Homer made a huge oversight by skipping over 10 years worth of story, and I alone can correct that mistake. On the way to Troy, Achilles reunites with Patroclus. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding Patroclus. Some people say he's Achilles' brother or cousin. Other people, who've never had real friends, insist that Achilles would never get angry about Patroclus' death unless they were f***ing. But the enlightened few, such as myself, know the truth. Patroclus and Achilles were legendary Greek figures. Therefore, they were related and and my epic retelling will spread that truth. Wait, what was I talking? Oh yeah, Achilles reunites with Patroclus, his cousin brother lover, on the way to Troy. They haven't seen each other in years, and Patroclus says, "I'm stuck on the reef, come help me out, cousin brother lover senpai," and Achilles obliges. Meanwhile in Troy, Helen has become tired of cleaning wool out of her new bedroom. But Aphrodite teaches Paris new dance moves, keeping the Queen of Sparta in a state of mad lust. Helen also discovers that the real Hector has been dead for years. It's his wife, Andromache, that's been running around disguised as him and going on all sorts of adventures. We'll probably have clips of those adventures where she'll fight big lions, exterminate armies of goat people, tutor young Socrates, and watch a German opera in a single setting. Very heroic feats indeed. Until finally, the Greeks arrive in present day. Episode 5. At last, we're at the Trojan War. But because we blew most of our budget on pumpkin spice, we have to save what little money we have for the final episodes. So we're going to take a bunch of close stills of random extras sitting around a campfire, and they're going to talk about how horrible the fighting has been. It's genius. Then we'll break to the Greek kings dividing the spoils, only for COVID to hit because none of them obeyed Apollo's mask mandate. Thus the sun god is punishing them for their sins, and the only way to fix everything is another human sacrifice. Now some of you might wonder why a human sacrifice would change anything when hundreds of people are dying every day in the war. And you know what? That's a good question. Agamemnon, too, says that they need to kill Briseis, a member of Achilles' polycule. The Greek queen claims this is for the gods, but really, she's just mad because Achilles not only refused to attend her weekly orgy, but set up a competing orgy on the other side of the camp, and all the cool Greeks went to that one instead of hers, thus earning her enmity. Achilles recognizes this as a personal attack and declares that he will not fight alongside his countrymen unless Agamemnon too apologizes, which he refuses to do. Episode 6. The Greeks and Trojans form their battle lines, and Paris presents an idea. He and Menelaus will duel, and the victor will take Helen. The Spartan king is surprised, but accepts. Unfortunately, Paris meant a dance duel, and before the power of the Trojan prince's groovy voodoo, Menelaus falters. Then, a portal to the future opens, and Chris Tucker comes through to teach Menelaus how to dance like Michael Jackson. With his new arsenal, Menelaus styles all over Paris, and not even Aphrodite can save him from the shame. But she does teleport him away from the battle and put him back with Helen. She saw the dance battle from afar, though, and witnessing Menelaus' skills gives her resistance to Paris' inferior groove. This angers Paris, who sentences her to herd his very, very personal herd of sheep. The Greeks call Paris a cheater and a crybaby and begin their attack on Troy. Episode 7. The fighting continues, but neither side gains the upper hand. For the Greeks, Odysseus uses his anti-material rifle to no-scope dozens of Trojan healers. But Ajax and Diomedes don't have enough piercing resistance to make it past the Trojan archers. Meanwhile, Andromache, who everyone still thinks is Hector, promises Zeus that she'll discover the Americas and bring hundreds of big-booty Latinas to Mount Olympus. This sways Zeus, and he buffs the Trojans with lightning damage, while also promising great punishment to any god who would get in the way of his search for Brazilian babes. But Hera runs to Japan and brings back vintage tentacle art that distracts Zeus long enough for the Greeks to escape. Wanting to save face, Zeus bans all the gods from participating in the war and goes to Japan to make a custom order. Poseidon defies him and provides the Greeks with designer energy drinks, hydrating them and giving them the power to continue fighting. In response, Andromache sneaks around the Greek lines and starts burning their boats, re-crippling the Grecian morale. Achilles' cousin brother Loverchon, Patroclus, asks Achilles for his +3 power armor. That way he can pretend to be Achilles and lead the Greeks to victory. Achilles says, yeah, sure, whatever, and Patroclus, the cousin brother Loverchon-kun, enters the fray. Unfortunately, the cousin brother Loverchon-kun Kohai doesn't have enough class levels to activate all the armor's special abilities, so Andromache is able to use Battlemaster maneuvers to trip him up and steal his armor. But Patroclus can't believe his luck, as he's been wanting to get away from his clingy cousin brother Loverchon-kun senpai for years now, so he convinces Andromache to help fake his death and leave. She obliges and tells everyone that she killed Patroclus and took his armor. This makes Achilles mad. Episode 8. Achilles complains to his mom about his stolen armor and his dead cousin brother Loverchon-kun Kohai-san, and she persuades Hephaestus to make her son a new set of +5 power armor. Achilles takes this new armor and proceeds to kick the shit out of all the Trojans. Andromache tries to save her troops, but is unable to access her new armor's deeper function without a password. Achilles gives her the password to the armor and offers to 1v1. Priam, Paris, Aphrodite, and even Helen warn Andromache that this is clearly a trap and she ought to run. But the Trojan heroine knows that her husband would have stood his ground, and she accepts the offer. Andromache puts up a good fight, but Achilles beats her all the same. He then hangs her from the walls of Troy and forces her to watch as he starts massacring the Trojans. Not even the younglings will survive. Odysseus sees this and realizes the heavy cost of war, and he decides that he needs to end the Trojan War, not for honor, but for you being his wife and child, and especially his dog. So he unveils his final trick, a giant flying mecha horse that he's kept hidden on the beach until now. He pilots the mecha and fights Achilles in the skies above the burning city of Troy, telling him how none of this is worth the bloodshed. But Achilles says, "If the Greeks will fight a war over a woman, I can kill a city for my cousin brother Loverchon-kun Kohai Sansama." Paris tries to flee with his sheep, but Helen trips him with her shepherd's crook, and he falls onto Menelaus. Menelaus then reveals the laser cannon that he's been building every day since Helen was gone, and asks her to put in the final piece, reigniting their love. Helen then turns the laser cannon on Paris, and his body explodes. In fact, his skull soars into the air and hits Achilles' jet boots, causing him to crash into the mecha horse. Both Achilles and the mecha horse then crash into Troy, resulting in a massive explosion that devastates and destroys the city. As the smoke settles, Odysseus emerges from the wreckage, sees Achilles' dead body, looks upon the few survivors, and declares the fighting over. Episode 9. It's going to be a bunch of still images of the main characters as I narrate what happened to them after the war. Agamemnon too was killed by her sisters for the throne. Menelaus and Helen went back to Sparta and opened a dance studio. Patroclus went to Scandinavia and fathered a son named Beowulf. The Trojan survivors followed a great warrior named Aeneas to Italy, but that's another story. And Odysseus made his way back to Ithaca, but that too is a story for another day and another episode. That was the layman's summary of my perfected Iliad. I hope you were sufficiently enlightened by my post-trans feminist modern reimagining, and if you took any of it seriously, I don't know what to do for you, man. Thanks for listening, and have a good one.